Okay, so today what we're going to be doing is going over a scatter plot. So a scatter plot is used when it's continuous data. So like year can go on forever and ever and ever. Temperature could go to infinity. So bar graphs are used for categorical data. So like apple, banana, orange are a category. You can name all the fruits, Honda, Chevrolet, Ford, whatever. You can name all the vehicles. Those are categories. When you're talking about continuous data, we use a scatter plot. So let's see, we'll share my screen here. So hopefully you recall you have access to Excel. If you go to your Statesman's Mail will pull up. You'll get something like this. When you click the 9 little dots over in the corner, click Excel, and you'll get an Excel worksheet. So my Excel, I've already set up to mimic the lab. So in lab, you'll be putting drops of HCl in, and you'll be recording the pH. And we want you to graph that. Now, this is pretty simple to do. It's really you just select everything, and this is simple enough where Excel can figure this out. Select all your data. The key to this is making sure it's set up correctly. So I would urge you to set it up exactly how I have it set up. It'll make your life a whole lot easier. Select all the data, come up here to insert. Now within insert, you have all these graph types. So this is a bar graph or a column graph, which we'll use for categorical data, which is not categorical data. This is continuous data. We could put numbers of or drops of HCl into infinity. So we want to use a scatter plot. Now we're not going to use this line graph right here. We're going to come over to this one and we're going to click our scatter plot. So you'll select it, and because you have all your data clicked, it inserts it for you. It's got it figured out for you. This is pretty simple one. So let's orient ourselves here. So we have water and acid, perfect, water and acid, or potato and acid. We have all of our headings correctly. Everything's color coded. So we look down here, it's like, okay, what are we looking at? All right, so down here would be our drops of HCl, and over here would be our pH. Well, you need to tell your professor this. So with your graph inserted, make sure your graph is selected, and then you have this chart option. When you click off of it, that option goes away. Once again, we're going to click it. We now have our chart option. We're going to put in our titles. So go to Axes Titles, and we'll go here and here. This is drops of uh, HCl or hydrochloric acid, and hit OK. So boom, we got our drops of ACL up here. We'll come in and then we'll put in our vertical axes. So here, this will be pH and hit OK. So now we have pH and we have our drops of ACL in our line. Now we can clean this thing up a little bit. We could, instead of, you know what, I'm going to delete these out just for the sake of clarity. We could change this thing a little bit. We could add trend lines to it. There's a lot of things we can do to it. So if we click it and right click, we can add a trend line to this data. And that adds a trend line just to our buffer and acid. Then we could come in and do the same thing and add a trend line here and add a trend line here. And now we could see the trend, right? This how it decreases. Our water and acid is the most extreme, which makes sense because there's no buffering capacity in water. Our potato and acid is a little less extreme because it's showing the buffering capacity of our potato. And our buffer and acid is the least extreme, which makes sense because it has all that buffering capacity. So hopefully that makes sense. It's important to understand this because as we progress through this and our next sort of set of graphs, things are going to get a little bit more complicated, but easy, quick way to make your scatter plot.